Hey entrepreneurs and website owners, if you're ready to take your online presence to the next level, you need a reliable web host, and that's where HostGator comes in. HostGator is your one-stop solution for easy, affordable, and powerful web hosting. Whether you're launching a blog, an online store, or anything in between, HostGator's got you covered. Don't miss out on creating the website you've always wanted. Visit krmpods.com/HostGator today and let your online journey begin.
You're listening to Fox Cities Murder and Mayhem, your bi-weekly dose of true crime history in a small rural community of Wisconsin.
Hey everybody, welcome to Fox Cities Murder and Mayhem. I'm Eric Walterkins.
I'm Gavin Schmidt.
Gavin, doesn't it feel like it's been forever since we recorded one of these?
Yeah.
Probably because it has been, huh?
I mean, I guess for people at home it's been 2 weeks, but I'm pretty sure it's been over a month now. Yeah. I don't know what happened there.
So hopefully we remember how to still do this podcast.
Sure.
I see the notes are sparse today, so
I have no notes.
Oh, you have no notes?
I have no notes.
Oh, that's
boom.
That's a different podcast notes, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, so kick her off.
All right, so I'm going to remind you, people at home might remember, but you might not remember because it's been so long. I said the next one we do was going to be like a two-parter.
Yes, I do. I actually do remember.
Okay,
this.
And they're not really, you don't have to listen to them together or in any order. It doesn't really matter. You'll see why it's a two-parter with the second one, but they're not really related.
And I'm going to actually tell the listeners a little story about this story, which you might not remember.
A story about this story?
Yes.
Oh.
So the last time we recorded one of these, I was telling somebody the next day about this podcast.
Okay.
And they said, "Oh, have you ever heard of this murder?" And I said,
no.
Yeah. And then I sent Gavin a message, and Gavin's like, "Oh, yeah, that's the ones we're doing in the next episode."
Yep. Okay. So you know what we're doing. Yep.
I very vaguely remember.
Your memory has come back. Yes.
So.
That is correct. So, we'll start this out. So, just north of the city of Kaukauna, somewhere between Kaukauna and Wrightstown, out of the middle of nowhere in the farm area, the McCarty family settled in the 1800s. They came from Ireland, as the name McCarty might suggest. And there were two brothers, Dennis and Charles, and then they each had a whole bunch of kids, and it's lots and lots of kids and grandkids and great-grandkids and so on. And a lot of them became very important people. There's doctors, there's lawyers. One of the great-great-grandkids is Congressman Paul Ryan.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Who has nothing to do with this story, but just throwing that out there. That this guy, this farmer who settled in Kaukauna, one of his great-grandkids is Paul Ryan. Okay, so there's these two brothers, there's Dennis and Charles. We don't care about Dennis today. Charles has a son named Mike.
Okay.
Or Michael M, but we're going to call him Mike McCarty for this. And he's got his own farm. For whatever reason, he never gets married. He's just got a sizable farm. I don't know if things just didn't work out or what, but he's a middle-aged guy with his own farm.
Okay.
So it's him and this 14-year-old boy that helps him out on the farm. And the little kid's name is Julius. That's a sweet name for a kid. One day, while he's working on the farm, he gets approached by a man named Wenzel Kabat. And Wenzel Kabat is, depending on who you talk to, is either from Manitowoc or Reedsville or whatever, that general area.
Somewhere around there, huh?
Yeah. I think he's from Manitowoc originally, but then he kind of lived in Reedsville. So whatever. To the east of the area. Well, he comes to town and he wants to buy this farm. He says, "I want to buy your farm." And Mike McCarty is like, I don't really want to sell my farm because this is like my farm.
This is all I have.
That's all I have. So they have a discussion. We fast forward a few days and people are wondering, hey, what happened to Mike McCarty? Has anybody seen Mike McCarty? He hasn't come to town lately. His dad's kind of curious. His dad's like, that's my son. I mean, we talk to each other like every day. I haven't heard from him. What's going on? So they go to the farm and they see what's up, and they can't find Mike, but they find Wenzel Kabat.
Really?
Yeah. So Wenzel's there working on the farm, and he's like, oh yeah, Mike totally sold me this farm. And then he ran off with some chick, and they moved to Green Bay. And the dad's like, that doesn't sound like something that would happen. I mean, if it did happen, I think he would have told me, but I don't think that happened. And he's like, oh yeah, he's got mixed up with some girl in Green Bay, and they went on the train, and I haven't seen him in days now. But he sold me this farm, so it's my farm now.
When did you say when this was?
I don't know if I did. Well, so when this is happening now, it's 1905.
Okay.
So thank you for asking.
Yeah.
And so the dad is suspicious, and he goes to Julius, the 14-year-old boy, and Julius is like, well, I'm not sure what happened. I showed up one day, and Wenzel is like, yeah, you work for me now. And I'm like, okay. He goes, but there's been some really strange things going on since he took over the farm. He's been spending a lot of late nights out burning things. And that's very weird to be burning things in the middle of the night, but he keeps doing it. Well, sooner or later, Charles, the father, is like, this isn't right. He gets the police involved, and the police go and they talk to Wenzel, and Wenzel, he's like, yeah, I bought this farm. and they're like, Where's your deed? What's going on here?
That was what I was going to ask. So there is some sort of paperwork that you provide when you buy land at this point in time. Okay.
Yeah, and the guy's like, yeah, I got it. It's around.
Just the answer the police were looking for, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's somewhere around here.
Well, so it doesn't take them very long to figure out that something isn't right. Nobody really seems to believe that he bought this farm. And if he did buy this farm, he did it in a very shady way. So they start poking around the property. And based on what the kid said, they start looking around the fire pit area. What do you suppose they find around the fire pit area?
Burnt up bones.
That is exactly what they find. They find some bones. It's kind of hard for them to be sure at first because they have got saw marks on them. They're all cut up. But they're like, these kind of look like people bones. So they send them over to the university, have, the scientists or whatever look at them. And the scientists are like, yeah, these are people bones. They probably shouldn't be in a fire pit. And, again, this is 1905, so they don't have blood tests. They don't have DNA.
So they really have no way of verifying whose bones these are.
Right. I mean, they go with it. They're pretty much like, well, who else's bones could these possibly be? But today, if this had happened, I mean, that'd be the first thing, the defense would say is be like, well, prove whose bones they are. Mm-hmm. But back in this time, you didn't have to do that because, there's no way. So anyway, so they arrest the guy and they're like, okay, we're going to trial. And he goes on trial and he runs with this story. Like he, even in court, he still maintains like, I don't know anything about these bones in the fire pit. He got on a train. He went to Green Bay, and he gets some lady to actually come to court and testify and be like, oh, yeah, I saw him in Green Bay. He was at the fair with some lady. So he tries, but he ends up getting convicted. Nobody really believes him. He ends up getting convicted, and he goes to Waupun State Prison, like you do when you kill people. You'd think that's the end, but it's not the end.
Okay.
He's not in prison very long when he makes a makeshift ladder, climbs up and jumps over the wall in Waupun and escapes.
Wow.
And this doesn't happen much anymore, but it used to be actually not that rare for people to escape from Waupun prison. Like, the security was not great. So he escapes, and they don't find him. No.
Okay.
Like, but for years, they're like, where did he go? We don't know. So we'll just kind of we'll go ahead. I'll kind of explain what's going on now. What happens is he actually moves to Minnesota.
Okay.
And he takes on a new name, and he's living there. He's kind of working as a machinist. He'd probably be all fine and good, because at this point in time, there's not that many ways you can track a guy down. If he changes his name and leaves the state, he could be home free. Because, I mean, again, keep in mind, people don't have driver's licenses. They don't have any of the kind of stuff you use to identify people today. Mm-hmm. So you're just kind of whoever you say you are. So this is working out well for him. But this guy is nuts. Okay. On top of the fact that he cuts up and burns people. When he was younger, he tried to become a priest, and that didn't work out for him.
No, I can't imagine why.
Yeah, and now that he's like, okay, I'm in Minnesota, everything's going fine for me. I'm living a great life. He decides to run for Congress.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So he runs for Congress. Doesn't win, just to be clear. He does not win. But the problem with this is when you run for Congress, you're far more visible. If he's just some guy working in a machine shop, nobody knows who this guy is and nobody cares. But when he starts running for Congress, you actually have to show your face around people. Mm-hmm. He does this. And some kid is reading a true crime magazine. Like, I don't know what it's called, but like True Detective or something. You know, they used to have these magazines with like all these exciting cases. And by sheer coincidence, the case is in this magazine he's reading. And there's a picture of Wenzel in it. And he's like, this looks like that guy
running for Congress.
Yeah. So he alerts the authorities, and the authorities come out, they check it out, and they're like, yep, pretty sure that's the same guy. So they end up getting him arrested and brought back to Waupun. So yeah, it's one thing that you kill a guy, go to prison and escape, but then he has to go and run for Congress on top of it. So a very strange story. And I should note at this point, this story does actually appear in the Fox Cities Murder and Mayhem book. So if my 5-10 minute, whatever this is, version is not enough, if you want to hear all the gruesome details, hey,
check out the book.
Because there's it's significantly longer. It's probably 25 pages or something. So,
okay, so Wenzel,
yeah.
Obviously, he sounds like he's a basket case.
I mean, yeah, he's functioning. I mean, he's not. He's not that kind of nuts, but he's obviously there's something.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
right.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, there's something off there. Do you know prior to him doing this, does he have a history of doing weird things like this, or was he pretty much just a guy, and then suddenly he decided to hack somebody up so he could get his farm?
I would have to consult the book. I mean, there were probably little things that I'm not remembering, but it was nothing really obvious.
Nothing significant. It wasn't like he was going from town to town doing this or anything.
No. He wasn't in and out of jail all the time or anything. No.
I don't know. That's a pretty straightforward story. I don't know how many questions I can come up with.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
I'm gonna say that's about it.
The thing that blows my mind with this is, so he keeps saying he moved to Green Bay with a girl. He moved with Green, and everybody seemed to think that was really suspicious. But it doesn't seem like at any point anybody went to. I mean, for those of you that don't know where we are, if you're just listening to this podcast, you're not familiar with the Fox Cities. Yeah, where he was living.
I don't know why you would listen, but if you're, if you are listening and don't live here,
if you're in the Fox Cities and somebody moves to Green Bay, that is not a great distance to go.
No.
I mean, it's enough, I guess, 1905, probably a little bit different than today, but still not a very...
I mean, what, maybe 20 miles? Yes. Probably not even?
Yeah, probably for where they were, because I believe this happened out in Wrightstown, right?
Well, basically. Yeah. It's like Wrightstown, town of Kaukauna. It's the middle of nowhere.
So,
yeah.
So, but it's probably literally halfway between the Fox Cities and Green Bay.
Yeah.
So... The thought that nobody ever just went to Green Bay and was like, where is this guy? Let's find him. You know, it just seems...
Well, yeah. I mean, and his dad did.
His dad did. Okay.
His dad did. I mean, when Wenzel said, yeah, he went to Green Bay, and he's like, yeah, he went with some girl, and they've been going to the fair and this and that. His dad did get on the trolley and go to Green Bay and look for him. He didn't find him.
And that's kind of probably when he came back and said, okay, something ain't right here.
Yeah.
Got the cops involved.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, I don't think he believed it in the first place, but...
It's a very strange thing to just be like, oh, you won't tell me your farm? There's 100 other farms around here that maybe I could go buy, but rather I'm just going to kill you and take your farm.
Right. I don't know why that one was special.
Yeah.
But I can add another little piece onto this.
Okay.
So where this farm was located, and the farm is still there today. It is still there today. It is still used as a farm today. There's a crossroads. And the crossroads was called McCarty's Crossing. And it was just called that because that's where the McCartys lived. Mm-hmm. But even today, some older people know, if you say McCarty's Crossing, they know what it is. But it was notorious, like even before this, because it's where you would cross with, your horse or later your car, and the train would go by and the trolley would go by. So it was like a deadly corner to begin with. People were getting hit by trains and trolleys all the time. So McCarty Crossing was always in the newspaper as like the dead corner because if you're going to get hit by a train, that's where you're going to get hit.
So then on top of that,
so it was already like it was considered a cursed area before a guy got killed there, murdered there.
Yeah, and somebody was willing to kill somebody for the farm that's in the cursed area.
Yeah,
it doesn't make very much sense, but.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And today the Van Zeelands own it. So I hope they're doing okay.
So now, if I remember correctly, when we discussed this before, you talked that you said this is kind of a two-parter. So the next step, do you want to give people a little insight into what the second part of it is about?
Well, the only connection with the second part is that it's another member of the McCarty family. Okay. But it has nothing to do with this case specifically.
It's not connected in any way.
It's not in any way, just that it's going to be another branch of the same family.
Okay.
But there's no connection between the two.
So it's not like after Wenzel goes to jail, this other McCarty takes over the farm and then gets killed.
No. Okay. Like I said, you can listen to them in any order or whatever. It doesn't make any difference. It's just that these guys are like cousins with each other. So I'm calling it two parts, even though it's not really.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I think that kind of wraps this one up. Actually, it wasn't that short. So
okay.
It was right on our time frame. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Gavin, you want to throw out some contact info for them?
Sure. You can find us at MilwaukeeMafia.com or email MilwaukeeMafia@gmail.com or go to Facebook.com/Milwaukee Mafia. You can find me at just about anywhere. And stay tuned to this podcast in the future, not just for this next part, but I've got a whole bunch of things lined up. Eric went on vacation and I got busy. and he specifically requested a UFO story, so that'll be coming up soon too.
Yeah, that should be really cool.
Yeah.
So, all right, everybody, and as normal, if you love this podcast, which I hope you do if you're listening to it, because, I mean, if you hated a podcast and you were listening to it. But anyways.
Yeah, like reply all. That's a bad joke. I'm sorry.
Leave us a podcast review, and we will be back in 2 weeks with another episode. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in to Fox City's Murder and Mayhem. Join us in 2 weeks for another exciting episode of Murder and Mayhem.